The brain of a highly sensitive person has certain special needs. In this video, I'm going to talk about how journaling beautifully meets all of those needs, how it neurologically resets your brain after trauma, and the three most effective types I've learned after 1,000 days of journaling and suggesting it to several of my clients. Let me share a study on the life-changing benefits of handwriting. I read this study in this book and I absolutely loved the chapter on language's power to heal trauma. I had been doing it for a while when I read the chapter, but my perspective towards journaling just changed completely after it. And since then, I've made journaling a major part of not just my life, but also my coaching process for healing trauma. So 200 odd students who went through a traumatic event in their past were chosen for this study and divided into three groups. The students in the first group were asked to write what was going in their life currently. The students in the second group were asked to write details of a traumatic incident from their past. Whereas the students in the third group were asked to write the details of that traumatic incident, what they felt during as it was happening, and the impact it had on their lives. They were supposed to do this for 15 minutes every day for 4 consecutive days. And the students took this very seriously. A lot of them revealed secrets they had never shared with anyone before. The results? The students who wrote about the details, feelings, and impact of the traumatic event not only had better moods and an optimistic attitude towards life, but they were in better physical health. It was discovered by the researchers that the students in the third group had a 50% drop in doctor's visit as compared to the other two groups. Let this land for a second. A 50% reduction in doctor's visit from just 60 total minutes of writing about emotions from a past trauma. And here's why this is especially relevant for HSPs. One of the unique features of HSPs and their brain is that they feel emotions more intensely than the normal person. And the one thing that I realized after spending 6 years introspecting as a HSP and coaching people for hundreds of hours is that because of this heightened sensitivity towards unpleasant emotions, SHPs are especially prone to trauma. I legit did not think my childhood was traumatizing in any way, but I discovered that we often dismiss the seemingly insignificant things that happen in our past that are severely traumatic to a sensitive child. I won't go into this now, but I've created this free AI tool that tells you exactly how traumatic your childhood was. You just answer some questions and it gives you a score out of 100. I took it myself and this is what I got. As you answer these questions, things start to come into your awareness and a lot of your current situation makes sense. So do check it out. But what about just moving a pen on a paper is so effective for healing trauma for HSPs? Let me ask you something that will make things so much clearer. Think of a specific event from your childhood when you were very scared. When you have it, if you don't, feel free to pause. Here's the follow up question. Who did you talk to about that intense fear? Chances are the answer is no one. As a child, because your brain is not fully developed, you are dependent on your caregivers to process your emotions. And when that doesn't happen, these unprocessed feelings often rot inside, which is precisely why childhood emotional neglect has such a lifelong impact on HSPs. When the students took time to write about their feelings, it was the first time in their lives that they were giving words to some strong emotions from the past. And this became a channel for all of those unprocessed emotions to flow. It's like you finally meet a friend who you've been avoiding because you dislike him for something he did decades ago. And once you meet him and hear him out, both of you feel so much more better and close to each other. This is one of the reasons why therapy is effective, although there is some magic that handwriting brings to the table. Let's look at the three neurological benefits of handwriting. Researchers who scanned people's brain when they took notes using a pen versus on a keyboard were blown away by the results. First, they discovered that when you write by your hand, your brain explodes with neural activity. It virtually activates every part of your brain, especially the prefrontal cortex, that helps you with rational thinking and emotional management. Handwriting is literally a brain workout that strengthens your ability to think clearly and understand things more deeply. Not just that, but there's this part of your brain called amygdala, which triggers the fight and flight response. It's like your brain's smoke alarm. So when amygdala is overactive, it makes you panic, stressed, causes overwhelming anger or anxiety. Amygdala is often overactive in people who carry trauma and have went through a lot of traumatizing events. But handwriting is proven to reduce activity in this part of your brain, which makes you calmer and grounded. And finally, handwriting also activates the default mode network, which is a region of your brain that helps with self-reflection and creativity. And this, with repetition, develops your self-awareness and understanding. So to sum it up, it helps you think clearly and deeply, helps you manage your emotions and declutter your brain. You can see why this is my favorite self-care habit as a highly sensitive person who overthinks, feels a lot, and gets overwhelmed easily. Here are the three most effective journaling types for HSPs. The first type is something that I do every day as a part of my nighttime routine. I call it Greek journaling. It's the simplest one you can start with. Matter of fact, it's the one I started with. Greek journaling is simply making bullet points of what happened in my day. Just doing that daily before sleeping gives me a sense of closure over my day and helps me relax and wind down before sleeping. It is also important to note down both the positives and the negative events of the day, because when I look back to a certain day in my diary, it's the lows that makes me feel the most joy for some reason. The second type of journaling you can use to process any triggers from the past. If you want to process trauma, you can start with what the students did. Pick a certain traumatic event and write what happened along with how you felt and how it impacted you. It's proven to help. But let me share an example of how I use journaling to process overwhelming emotions as and when I get triggered. So recently I was at a family gathering and a relative shat on my choice of career, which is this. And even though his opinion doesn't matter jack shit to me intellectually, emotionally that hurt me a lot. So when I came back home, wrote down a journal prompt, something along the lines of what was so hurtful about this event, which is my staple formula. And then I just let that hurt part of me go ham. I wrote as if the hurt part of me was speaking, and I let it say whatever it wants to say without any judgment. Finally, I also reflected upon how the emotions from this event stemmed back from my childhood. And these steps helps me process the strongest of emotions that get triggered from past traumas. And the last type of journaling helps you maximize your HSP potential. It stems from this new field of psychology called positive psychology. In the second type of journaling, we empty the pots in our psyche that carry dirty water. But this one is like filling the empty ones with fresh water. There are multiple types of positive journaling I've experimented with, but the one I'll leave you with is what I learned from this book. Self compassion is what helped me on my journey to overcome the toxic shame I was carrying since childhood. The same sense of shame and alienation that every HSP feels. The way I do this is whenever I'm going through something, I write everything that is bothering me in terms of thoughts and emotions on one page. Then on the next page, I respond to that in a kind, compassionate way. Now, I know that's easier said than done, but the way I concretely do that is I respond to the first page as if I were responding to my child. So, when you're doing this exercise, try to imagine your child came to you with that same concern you wrote on the first page. How would you react to them? Ask yourself this question and then just write whatever comes up for you naturally. When I suggested this to a client of mine, he took this to another level by setting up his childhood picture as a wallpaper to build up self compassion. Because it was such a great idea, I copied it as well. And seeing my baby self really calms down my inner critique. I believe that compassion is something that you can both build and is also your innate nature. So the more you do this exercise, the more compassion becomes your second nature. Because I'm in a mission to empower HSPs, if you feel like this was helpful, share this with someone you know is highly sensitive and would benefit from this information. But if you feel overwhelmed very easily, journaling is just one piece of the puzzle. Watch this video next where I share my entire system for HSPs to control intense emotions.